Recording in progress.
Thank you for joining us for the October 4th Village of East Aurora Board meeting. If you join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Hi, Maureen. Can I get attendance, please?
Trustee Lazikis, trustee Porter,
Here.
trustee Kimmelhart, trustee Rosati,
Here.
trustee Cameron, trustee Shear,
Here.
Mayor Mercurio.
Present.
1 absent, 6 present.
Thank you. Can I get a motion to approve the minutes of the village board meeting for September 20, 2021?
So moved.
Moved by Kristen, second by Paul. Further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Approved. Can I get a motion to approve the payment of abstract for 10/4/21 for voucher numbers 61408 to 61450 for a total of $105,393.08?
So moved.
Moved by Paul, second. Second by Marcia. Further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Approved. All right, this is our first speakers and communications. There'll be a second one near the end of the meeting. We're gonna lead off with the pedestrian bike board. You ready? Ready. Want to come up and introduce yourself to everybody and lay it on us? That'd be perfect.
Thank you very much. My name is John Lyons. I represent the East Aurora Pedestrian Bicycle Board. We've been meeting pretty regularly for the past, if you don't count that little interval with COVID, we've been pretty active for the last few years. We've identified an area that we think could really use some work. The difficulty as a cyclist in traveling north and south through the village is that it's difficult to do. And if you use the main thoroughfare, Route 16, Olean Road, it's rather dangerous. It's either you ride on the sidewalk, interfere with pedestrians, or you ride on the street and kind of risk getting interfered with cars because there's simply no shoulder. We are proposing that since Olean Street is wide enough, appears to be wide enough, that a two-way pedestrian path or cycling path be proposed, funded, and constructed on the east side of north-south Olean Street. I don't know how that actually gets done, the nuts and bolts of getting funding for that, perhaps finding grants. It is a state road, so I imagine it gets maybe a little complicated, but there is a need. The other way to ride north-south through the village is through the residential streets of Grove, Sycamore, and all that, but then you're on South Street, which also has its dangers. It's a similar but less busy situation as there is on Olean Street. It's not safe. It's not easy. If I had young kids, I wouldn't let them do it. Which I think needs to be the gold standard for cycling in the village. Would you let your kid ride to school, to the store? Is it safe enough?
John, can I just ask?
Yes.
So you're not proposing to have this path next to the sidewalk. When I first read it, I thought maybe that's what you were thinking. You're talking about actually adding like a bike lane on the east side of the street.
I'm thinking this. I was thinking that it would be to the east of the east side sidewalk. So you'd have the road, and then the sidewalk would incorporate with a bike path. It would be wider. It would be, a standard. I'm not sure what it is, but probably be about 8 feet, so that you'd have room for pedestrians and you would have room for cyclists in two directions. That's one proposal. You could also have, say a south directional bike path on one side of the road, and then the opposite on the other. But I don't think that would be as workable. I think we're thinking of a bike path on the east side of the street.
East side of the street, east side of the current existing sidewalk.
Yes.
You wouldn't have to demo the curb or anything.
No, you'd actually, I think, basically add to the sidewalk. Yeah. The one issue would be when you get to the railroad bridge. There's really, the railroad is not going to, widen that bridge for us. So it would be a, yeah. And so it would have to be accommodated. You could use, say, mirrors, just to make sure that when you have two-way traffic, cyclists moving at 10, 12 miles an hour, that they're not going to run into each other. Probably would be a rare event, but it would need to be taken into account. The advantage would be suddenly we would have a pretty nice way to get north and south in the village. And then once you're past South Street, then it's pretty nice cycling there. I mean, Route 16 has got this lovely wide shoulder. Just when we get into the village, it gets kind of dangerous. That's the proposal. Now, then I don't know where we go from.
Shane, you guys escorted that, we had a bike group on, was it Saturday, right?
Yeah.
Was it 200, 250?
300.
Was it 300
Yeah.
cyclists? And they traveled up
We escorted
south and only?
south and only to South Street to Center to Beach to Mill.
Right.
Yeah.
So we took up the whole street. I mean, there's
So
no-
yeah, it's not like a
Yeah, that was
normal.
it was
day.
a very fun once in a while thing.
Mhm.
My understanding would be the first would be an annual event, hopefully.
Mhm.
Yeah, so it would be nice if to start looking at East Aurora we are pedestrian friendly. I mean, we're noted for it, but it's not perfect. There are issues, and it would be nice to start chipping away at them. My personal feeling is that if it were easier to cycle around, we would start to make a dent in the auto traffic. We're kind of, in my opinion, we're kind of drowning in cars. You look at Main Street on any Saturday or rush hour, and a cyclist running their errands in lieu of taking their car. It's just one small step to making it a little more rational transportation system throughout the village.
So you guys identified the need and have this concept,
Right.
but now you're kind of stuck on the process
Exactly.
and whether grants can play into it. And
Correct. There actually is, it's not in this presentation, but there actually is another need to get to Knox Farm by bicycle is quite difficult. You can get yourself to the west end of Gerard Street, cross over fairly dangerous intersection there because people are not habituated to seeing cyclists or pedestrians. I've been across there many times, got halfway across and a car comes, they just don't see you.
I agree.
Yeah.
When I read your email, that was the one that popped out as a more urgent need, I guess, than I thought, than only because like I've had numerous people call me and complain about that. I had a resident who was stepping out with their daughter from the park to go to Gerard.
Right.
Stepped and the car started to slow down. And then she saw the car behind it wasn't going to slow down. So she backed up and that
Right.
car hit that car and knocked the first car right across where they were about to walk,
Right. I'm a cyclist and I'm pretty militant about that. I get annoyed when I see that happening, when I want to cross the street and there's a car coming. I've done it myself. I have because I have my blinders on, because I don't see, I look but don't see, it has happened. So I think the design of the intersection itself is substandard. It's dangerous.
Yeah, that's
We
a
need
county-
something else.
It's a county stretch, right?
Yeah. And if we could fix that intersection and then build another bike path along the stone wall on the west side of 16 to get us, say, up to the main entrance, it would be very, very helpful and very safe. Then you can start thinking, to my mind, you could start thinking then about, well, let's look into a park and ride. People can hook their bikes to their car, park at Knox Farm, come into the village safely, down 16, into Gerard Street, or maybe all the way to Main Street, help keep business vibrant, but leave their car somewhere else. A start.
So would you want to put a new lane in or possibly just make the sidewalk wider?
I think I've been in I've cycled in a number of different countries. There's kind of a standard from what I've seen when you have pedestrians and cyclists having to share a roadway with automobiles, and they're pretty much the same. You have space for a road, you have a curb or something to protect pedestrians and cyclists from higher speed cars. And it's basically one long stretch of asphalt, typically painted. Pedestrians are here, cyclists here, lane in each direction. I'm thinking it takes about, for all of that, maybe 10 feet in width, something like that. There are standards, I'm sure there are standards. And I would just love to see something like that here where we could point to and say, hey, we know what we're doing here. We are truly cycling and pedestrian friendly.
The one thing that is coming to me is maintenance. Like, the village isn't even responsible for the sidewalks. So how would they repair these paths if needed? Because we say to the property owner, oh, you're responsible for the bike path, but we can't force them to do something.
Personally, I think that's to make the homeowner responsible for a right of way. Basically, right of way that everybody has to use is bad policy. A bike path, a sidewalk, it's a public work, it's a public facility, and it needs to be maintained by the public entity. We run into that. We walk in the winter when we're not cycling, we're briskly walking on sidewalks, and they can be a danger. You know, with the freeze thaw that we always have, they get plowed once, they don't get salted, they don't get replowed. So, you know, by February, you get your crampons on, you know, you're going basically cross country down the sidewalk. It's tough. It's certainly it's not cheap. Somebody has to do it, has to be paid for. So maintenance would be an issue, and these bike paths would have an ongoing, if we're going to use them in the winter, they need to be maintained. They need to be salted. Same as a car. You know, we have a pretty good system for taking care of cars and their drivers. Not so much with cyclists or people that use their feet.
Yep.
I guess a related question would be then, if you're intending to use it year round, would the bike racks then need to stay out longer? Right now, I think a lot of businesses take the bike racks in around the end of October and then, you know, don't put them back out again until April.
They say in cycling countries, there's no bad weather, there's just bad clothing. So yeah, I think, and I've seen studies where side-by-side comparison of different cities, similar climates, but whereas the one municipality that has good infrastructure maintenance, where the paths are kept clear, where they're lit, where they you have proper and safer signaling for when you interact with cars, cycling use goes up dramatically. It goes from a dead activity in the winter to something that people will do. They will do it if they feel like it's safe, and the bike's not going to slip out from under them. Yeah, I don't think this should be a fair weather activity. It's generally not in our culture, but I think it could be. At least not around here. I mean, it certainly is in larger cities. People ride all the time.
Some of your material talks, there's a page that's titled Educational Possibilities.
Yes.
Is the intent that the bike and pedestrian board would assemble that material so there's a minimal amount of work on the the staff?
Yes, we've done those before. We did, I participated in our last bicycle rodeo. I can't say it was a huge success. We ended up with a giant pile of bikes. It was almost like people brought their kids and the bikes that they outgrew and they just left them there and we dealt with them. I think it needs some thought put into it. The goal would be to introduce kids to safe cycling. I mean, it would be wonderful to see just a pile of bikes in front of Parkdale because kids rode their bikes to school. But that has to start earlier, has to be kind of ingrained in kids. So yes, we would have to figure that out. No, nobody wants to add to the tax burden I think there's plenty of scope for volunteer activity, to help keep this thing going.
And similarly, then you're expecting that the bike board would put together adult education materials for the webpage on this concept like Dutch Reach
Oh,
and things like
absolutely.
that.
Yeah, that would be fun. Look forward to that.
Have you guys been in touch with anyone at the state yet?
No, I wouldn't know where to begin. I have no, I don't know that any of us has a clue as to how to proceed with that. Who do we talk to?
Have you looked, how about grants? Have you identified any grants that
Nope, no, we have not.
cover that kind of thing?
No. It would be great to have somebody that we can work with here who knows the Byzantine ways of the state, help us get through, break
Good
through
use
the
of that
crust.
word. I don't get to use that much. So Matt, do you have a contact at the state DOT that maybe Kathy could put an email together and send it over to them, kind of an exploratory thing mentioning this and seeing, gonna let them weigh in on it? All right, why don't we at least start with the state
Yeah,
Could we do two things, start with the county also?
and the county
Yeah.
also?
You know, we can have it in either one.
yeah, it'd be great. Yeah. They need to, my experience again in cycling in the areas, they just don't, there's a couple of things I saw that they just don't think of cyclists when they're planning their jobs. There's several county roads and state roads where they simply add another 4 inches of asphalt to repave the road and leave the sewers, 4 inches below. They are an accident waiting to happen. And then, Jameson Road, they repaved it and then they kind of decided they didn't want to put shoulders for the eastern section. If you ride along it, the shoulder simply stops. And to make it even more fun is they ground the original pavement away and then simply repaved to the fog line. And so you have this drop off, quite dangerous on a cycle. I mean, you can go one way, but if you try and get back on the road, you're going down. And hopefully another car isn't coming out along behind you just at that time. So, yeah, we need to advocate and educate the state, the county, ourselves. I mean, it'd be great. I'd love to be able to point the East Door and say, we know what we're doing. This is a great place to come and cycle. Leave your bike over here, ride on in, have dinner, ride home.
Yeah, I think this is a great way to get this whole conversation started. There are a lot of options for how to do bike paths.
Mm-hmm.
And I completely agree with you also about sort of the culture being different. So I spent a little bit of time in a much more bike-friendly city this past winter. I've never biked in the snow before until this year. I commuted every day on a bike.
Because you could.
Because the infrastructure was there. Right,
Yeah.
I could. It was
Yeah.
much easier. But yeah, I think there are a lot of ways to get this kind of thing done. Do you have any, so mostly when I've cycled around here, it's been in East Aurora or slightly surrounding communities. Do you have any kind of examples of places where you like what they've done with it?
I mean, outside of here? Or
Outside of East Aurora, so like someplace in New York State, so that we could maybe talk to people.
Buffalo is doing a great job. We were just we did a short vacation in Lewis, Delaware. Of course, it's not in New York State. It's a resort area on the coast. And they have bronze rating. So their League of American Wheelmen, they rate municipalities, bronze, silver, gold as to how bike friendly it is. Even bronze is pretty good. Lots of bike paths, a pretty good awareness. You don't, when you're on a cycle, when you're cycling and you're in an area that is not cycling aware, you will get your share of people screaming at you, get on the sidewalk, people throw things. It's not often, but it happens enough, and it's pretty discouraging. But successes build upon successes. So you have an area that you get used to cyclists. They're not the enemy. They're and neither are drivers. And so Buffalo, Lewis, Delaware, are the two that come to mind. I can't think of any area around here that's as friendly as we are right
Sure.
now, with as much work as we got to do.
Okay, nope,
Okay.
that's great. I was a little bit hopeful that somebody else had this conversation with the state or the county or something before, and we could build off of it. But if we have to do it, that's fine.
Right.
Well, one of the things that may help there is the Go Bike organization has
Mhm.
been very involved with Rails to Trails and stuff. And there's also something called Complete Streets that kind of
Yes.
talks to some of the bike lane discussion you had before.
Yeah, John Newton, who couldn't be here tonight, is kind of our de facto leader, knows people in those organizations.
Great.
Yeah.
All right, any other questions for John? So maybe Kathy, if you could put together a template letter for the state as well as the county on these two issues. And then actually maybe send it to the BBB to take a look at. And I guess what I'm gonna ask you guys to do is if you could start scrounging around for grant opportunities that
Right.
maybe we could identify that maybe are applicable to this
Right.
to try and help fund some of these changes.
Okay.
Maureen, did you want to add
Not-
something?
Well, if they're not village, if it's county or state, we can't do the grant. So the county or the state would have to do the grant.
So a state road in the village, we can add a stop sign, but we can't apply for a grant for it?
I don't know that we can. It has to be
Did you
yours.
say we can't? Or
I
you
don't know
think
that-
we can?
I don't know that we can. I believe it has to be ours.
Hmm. Can you check and make sure and let us know? Not everybody's got some homework.
And so
to
it
do. It's good.
begins. Yeah.
Mhm.
All right, good. Thank
Okay.
you so much,
Thank you.
John, for all the work you and the pedestrian bike board do. We appreciate it.
Thanks.
All right, still speakers and communications. Anybody else have an issue, raise your hand. We'll identify, come up and identify yourself and let us know what your issue is. Okay, there'll be another opportunity later in the meeting. Moving on to our first and only public hearing, 3A. Can I get a motion to open the public hearing for the proposed use of community development block grant funds at 7:24 PM?
So,
Moved by Paul, second by Tony. For the discussion. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right, the public hearing is open. Would anyone from the public like to speak on the proposed use of our community development block grant funds? Sir. Let us know your name and address, please, and lay it on us.
Thank you. My name is Nick Cartalis. I reside at 800 East Fillmore with my wife Ruth and my son Michael. And again, thank you for the opportunity to present tonight, along with the worthy organizations that may physically be here or be here by written petition. My purpose is to speak for the project sponsored by Home of My Own in Western New York. Our project, which was approved by this board approximately 1 month ago, will be renovating a warehouse space at 300 Glebe Avenue to create apartments for persons with intellectual and developmental disabilities. 100% of Home of My Own's population will be lower income as well as disabled. They will be utilizing supplemental security funds, SSI funds, which are only available to low-income individuals. Those funds are currently $881 per month. And these residents are also eligible in some cases for SNAP or supplemental nutritional assistance programs, as well as the home energy assistance program referred to as HEAP. Our hope is that Home of My Own and its Glebe Street project are aptly considered and worthy of consideration. We are currently fundraising and pursuing grants that will provide funds needed for this project. I personally want to take a moment to thank the board because we should be, and we will be, thankful for generations relative to this project. It is important that we as parents and guardians of the IDD population procure proper administrative assistance to ensure an appropriate environment for our sons and daughters, that they may be allowed to flourish when we can no longer care for them. We wouldn't want them to be in danger of being a part of a growing homeless population. It's our ultimate goal. Please consider the virtues of this project. I thank you for allowing me to represent Home of My Own this evening.
Thank you. Nick, can I just ask, so as far as the way this plays into the community development block grants, are you asking to see if those funds could be applicable or directed towards the project?
Yes, I'm relating this to the public notice that was forwarded that had 3 criteria for this evening. Senior care, low income care, as well as people with developmental disabilities. I hope that answers the question.
Thank you. Kathy, can you talk a little bit about the process? Thank you.
So, Maureen, I was going to be talking to Mike, but I don't need it, but I think she needs it. Okay, I'm going to speak anyway.
Now it's on.
So, actually, Tony Rosati, our this project to funding, and as right after the project was approved, Tony asked the question. Program, and I asked about the idea that some CDBG funds could be requested for something or other. I don't know what it would specify at this point. As a result of this special population being located to work, because otherwise we don't really have any populations that are fall under those categories. Here's perhaps some CDBG money for the town and village all the other said was already aware of the project and it was on his radar because it could fit in CDBG. However, he did also say that because the project has just been approved and has not been fully off the ground as far as being constructed, that population actually living at that location, that we wouldn't really have any ability to apply for these funds for anything for that population in the current year, which we do right now. One thing that we have every year is participate in the rural transit program, which some of those citizens, in fact, also utilize the rural transit system, and any other citizens who are in need in East Aurora could do that. So we are putting in for that for this year. Next year, we could certainly is in its development and people potentially moving in and find out what amenities or facilities or infrastructure that would be appropriate for that population. You can apply for these grant funds for that. We don't normally apply for much with these funds because of the nature of our community. And now that we do have this population, said that we would be putting in an application.
Well, I thank you for your research. I thank you for everyone's consideration. And we certainly look forward to another day where we can participate at that level. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Nick. Anyone else like to speak during the public hearing regarding CDBG funds? Can I get a motion to close the public hearing at 7:30 p.m.?
So moved.
Moved by, was that Marcia? Moved by Kristen, second by Paul. Further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Approved. Public hearing is closed. Moving on to official considerations for A. Can I get a motion regarding the resolution for CDBG funds application?
So moved.
Move to approve
Yes.
by Marcia, second. Second by Tony. Further discussion?
So the only thing we've got on here is the rural transit system, right?
Correct. Traditionally, I think that's the only thing we qualify for, right?
We tried 2 years running. For handicap ramps as they related when you're doing the Oakwood project. Because that would have been eligible
Mhm.
and we were not.
All right, any other discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Approved. Can I get a motion to schedule a public hearing on November 1st to consider local law number 5, amending the village code pertaining to minimum lot. Excuse me one second. All right, I'm being told there's a typo in 4B and it's actually local law number 6.
5 moratorium.
I'll tell you what, why don't we move on to 4C? And you guys can make sure we're using the right number. 4C, can I get a motion to authorize the mayor to sign the agreement with the town of Aurora for Hamlin Park?
So moved.
Moved by Ernie, second by Paul. Further discussion. And this basically is simply the village and town scratching each other's backs. The town would use the village park at Hamlin for the popular Aurora Rec summer program. And in return, they would simply need to mow the park once a week throughout the season, which I understand takes 3 or 4 hours a week. Good, seems like a good fair trade of services. Any other discussion on 4C? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Approved.
One minor comment about that agreement, the numbering is goofed up at the 2 number 12s.
2 number 12s on that agreement, Tony said? Yes, yes.
Yes, I would. That's assuming the dates would change to reflect it.
4D. Can I get a motion to approve the historic designation for 645 Main Street, the Blazing Star Lodge number 694, as recommended for approval by the Historic Preservation Commission?
So moved.
Moved by Marcia, second by Paul. Further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Approved. 4E, can I get a motion to appoint Mitchell Schultz as a police officer starting at step 2 salary on or about October 5th, 2021?
So moved.
Is that Kristen?
Yep.
Moved by Kristen, second by Ernie. Further discussion? Chief? If you would, please.
Certainly. Mitchell comes to us with over 3 years' experience in law enforcement from a department up in the north towns, and he wanted to relocate down here. Through the process, I think he's an excellent person of character and is going to fit in very nicely in our department.
Any other discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Approved. Congratulations, Mitchell. Welcome. Want to say anything to the group while you got us?
Sure, thanks for the opportunity, look forward to moving here.
Good. Well, welcome. You guys ready for 4B? At 6? You concur? She says begrudgingly. Can I get a motion to schedule a public hearing on November 1st to consider local law number 6, amending the village code pertaining to minimum lot width and as it relates to flag lots?
So moved.
Moved by Paul, second. Second by Marcia. For the discussion. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Approved. 4F, can I get a motion to approve the temporary use permit for East Aurora Runners Turk EA Trot on Thursday, November 25th at 9 a.m.?
So moved.
Moved by Marcia, second by Paul. Further discussion?
Is this gonna disrupt Main Street?
Shane, have you looked at this application? You're okay with it?
Yeah, we had it.
There's a map in
the year before, and it was a small turnout, and very little interaction with traffic.
Yeah, there was one year that was awful. It was like, I forget which, I don't think it was this one. There was
The
a,
one on Chris this time.
and they came across twice
Yeah.
and the traffic got jammed up all the way down the whole length of Main Street.
Yeah.
That's not like, this isn't gonna be like
No,
that.
this is not.
Okay. I'm fine.
All right, any other discussion on the Turkey 8 trot? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Approved. I get a motion to refer to the planning commission meeting on November 9th that proposed AutoZone store at 26 and 30 Gray Street for a site plan and special use permit.
So moved.
Is that Kristen? All right, moved by Paul, second by Kristen. For the discussion,
One question that I'm a little confused about, the paperwork seems to talk about 3 addresses, but this proposal talks about 2. So are there actually 3 parcels involved?
There are 3 parcels involved, 20, 26, and 30.
Okay,
So we're gonna go from the McDonald's parking lot right there, all the way to the existing Bank of America park.
including the Bank of America.
including that drive ATM, yeah.
Yeah, those 2 residential properties that have been there forever, you know, there's still a couple of houses there.
So the
Next
Bank of
one.
America, existing drive-through, the old one, that's the footprint for
All-
the 7,000 existing, or is that the?
That'll be mostly parking, but it's included in the development plan.
The plan is to have the building go in on those 2 formerly residential lots next to the McDonald's drive-through lane. And then the rest of it will be the lots so that they can get a semi in to deliver stuff to a loading ramp as well. All right, any other discussion? Referring it to the planning commission on the 9th, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Approved. I get a motion to authorize the mayor to sign a new parking lease with Facelift Properties LLC, Principal Clark Crook, for the property at 0 Main Street, SBL 164.19-6-9.1. Moved by Marcia, second.
Second.
Second by Paul. For the discussion. And Kathy, this is the lot, by the way. Looks great. Great, striped. I went. Oh, okay.
I think everybody knows.
I'm wondering, maybe this goes into your report for later, but relative to the discussion for the bikes, in this parking facility, are there going to be bike racks? You know.
Have we had them there before, Matt, do you know? So these are private properties that we have parking leases for. We do not have any provisions in our parking leases, because no one ever brought it up until just now, to have bike racks located anywhere within the park.
It might be an opportunity to have a discussion.
We could certainly discuss it with the property owner.
I'd like to be accommodating for even more people to come to their businesses in a environmentally safe and environmentally friendly way. All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? 4H is approved. No new business for today. Second, speakers and communications. Anybody have anything they'd like to address? Miss?
Hi, Mary Ann Colopy, 365 South Grove Street. First of all, thank you for approving and recognizing Blazing Star Lodge as a local landmark. I'm the chair of the Historic Preservation Commission. So thank you very much for doing that. And we apologize for COVID interfering to getting this to you in a timely manner. The second thing I'd like to talk about is I was not aware of the issue of the proposed bicycle paths. New York State this is under the Department of Transportation. There is a very extensive website that lists state bike paths and tourism bike paths. And also there are grants for encouraging kids to bicycle to school. So if you are interested in this, I think you really do have to look at this website and talk to people, small towns on the other side of the state where this has been very thoroughly developed. Villages like New Paltz, Rhinebeck, small cities like Kingston. Also, when you look at the existing bike paths in New York State, Route 5 is a state designated bike path, believe it or not. And 517 running down along Lake Erie is also a bike path. There is also the proposed South Towns bike path. It would make a lot of sense for there to develop from East Aurora to Orchard Park to go to something that is already in existence. So there are things already in place and we just need to be aware of them and hook up with resources that are already here. Thanks.
Thank you, Mary Ann. Anyone else? That ends 6, department head report. Shane.
Trustee Lasikis isn't here. Did you want us to discuss his request of the Olean Road, or I'm sorry, Center and South Street intersection? We haven't done a formal report. I don't know if that's necessary. Matt and I both looked at it. You want me to wait until next meeting or you want me to cover it now?
I'm gonna be honest with you. I was just checking a document with Attorney Pierce and I missed the beginning of your sentence.
Matt and I looked,
apologize.
Matt and I, the whole,
I cannot multitask.
that's all right. The whole traffic or the safety committee has not had a chance to meet regarding trustee Lasikis's request to look at Center and South Street intersection with the vegetation on the
Yeah, that berm
south
and
side of the
vegetation.
South Street. Did you want me to go over that real briefly now, or do you want me to wait for Steve to be here for that? Or?
No, we can fill them in, I guess.
Generally, Matt and I both went down and looked at the intersection. Due to the way Center Street is coming up the hill to that intersection, the slope of the ground on that corner property and a telephone pole right there, the vegetation, we both agreed, had very little impact on the visibility there. It's not to the point where you actually have to be into Center Street to see. So if you stop at the stop sign and inch forward as you're supposed to, we don't feel there's a need to make the gentleman cut down his vegetation. It's only approximately about a foot high above the ground, and would have little impact on that intersection. We've only had 4 very minor accidents there in the last 5 years. So with that, we'll leave that into your hands. We don't feel it's an urgent need to interrupt the homeowner's property there.
All right, we're gonna have Steve follow up with you if he has any more questions.
Other than that, we're still in the hiring process. Mitchell will be a good addition. That brings us to 15. So we still need 2 more to get up to the 17 without even the SRO consideration at this point. So we're still searching out other candidates. I'm looking to probably put at least 1 into the academy starting the beginning of next year, because we're running out of lateral transfer applicants and already certified police officers that want to come to our department. So we're going to look at the next phase. So
what do you mean you'd put 1 in the academy? How would that look?
Well, it would be hiring off our civil service list, somebody who is not certified. Luckily, we've been finding people that were certified police officers, either off our list who live in the community but worked elsewhere, or lateral transfers that just come from another department and have to move here. So we would hire somebody who lives here who is not certified and send them to the police academy at ECC. next year. And that takes a little longer. It takes, a little over 5 months to get them through the academy, and then they're very green and have to go through a longer field training program. But that might be our only option at that point.
And then, so we hire them and then we would pay for their academy.
Yep.
Do we also pay their?
Well, we don't
salary
pay,
while they're
we
in the
don't,
academy? How does that work?
we don't pay for the academy. The academy is supplied by the county for free.
It is, okay,
Yep. But we do pay their salary while they're there.
while they're there.
Yep.
And then we just have to hope they pass.
Yeah,
Or you start over.
right. Hopefully that is all gone through in the interview processes of, their background investigation and interview. And, if they're fit and competent in school, they should do just fine in the police academy.
Can they finish the academy and go, you know what, I'm gonna go to Rochester
So, well, they can't.
or whatever?
They can't. There's a new state law that if we train a police officer and put them through the academy and they get hired by another agency in less than 3 years, we can send that other agency a bill for all of that training and
Salary,
salary up to that point,
really?
which can get, very, very high.
Sure.
So that's generally not the case, but that's it.
All right, thank you. You're welcome. Matt?
We recently pressure washed both water tanks, the one on Center Street and one on Castle Hill on the exterior, and got them cleaned up, removed all the graffiti. And the fall banners are up on Main Street, and we're getting ready for leaf collection.
Very good. Anything else? All right, thank you. Liz?
We have hired a new part-time code enforcement officer. His name, thank you. His name is Paul Keelik, formerly employed by the highway department for the town of Aurora. He works in the mornings, and we will be hiring another part-time employee probably within the next month, once Paul is up and running and well on his way. But training's going well. We're happy to have him on staff. That's all I have.
Fantastic. Thank you, Liz. Maureen?
We want to thank Marianne for covering last week and Shane for doing all the electronics so that Jess and I could go to the NICOM conference. We did a lot of training while we were there, so it was very good. I also have been working with Marcia on some environmental things for grants as well as certifications that we'll be doing more of. And ARPA changed their reporting deadline till April of 2022. So that's fabulous. That's all.
Thank you. Okay.
So in speaking with our engineer from GHG, Dave Britton, earlier tonight, he used the magic term that the parking lot and the culvert project behind the bar bill and that whole section of Main Street is substantially complete. So that is a way ahead of schedule. October 20th was the 100-day end date for that. I haven't even been over and seen, I saw it was paved. I guess they striped it over the weekend and I missed it. Mayor, you said you had seen that it had been striped there. Been working very well with Clark Crook. You approved that earlier tonight, and then he had space reserved still for a shed he wants and where his dumpster can go and everything else. So working with all the property owners still. There are some punch list things that do need to be done. There will be a fence that will be erected. I guess the posts are going up or have gone up between the apartment complex and the parking lot. But they're waiting on fence materials and they don't know when those will come in, which is a supply chain thing that is pretty common everywhere nowadays. So that's one item. And there are just a few other things that they are waiting again on some supplies. The project is definitely within budget. You will note at this point, certainly that you have not seen, nor my information again is that you will not see any change orders for this project. So it definitely was within budget and done ahead of schedule. So good news on both of those accounts. And everything went very, very well. We worked very well with the majority of the property owners, and we had a couple of property owners who we had to work a little more closely with to try to make sure that their concerns were addressed. And I hope we have pretty well successfully done that at this point. But that's obviously our big news.
Thank you.
So when will it be open?
People were parked there for the bars and the Bills game and everything else. So they did take the construction fence down. So you can drive in there and park now. So, yeah, so people are able to pull in and park there and it is striped. So it is an open parking lot again, available for people to use with many, many added spaces as a result of the project.
Maybe we put something on our website reminding people it's open for parking to make sure that kind of takes the pressure off the Benderson lot across the street, plus reduces the amount of cross-street traffic, which we know is harrowing, and get more people who are using those businesses to park directly behind them.
Well, since I just got this information today, it will definitely be on our website tomorrow and I will do the email blast and I'm guessing the paper might cover that too, right? No pressure there, Adam.
How about some of those blue parking signs, or green parking signs that say there's a lot of big P?
Well,
there's a lot
that's,
that way?
Matt, that was a question for you. How about erecting parking signs in the vicinity pointing to where that public parking is now that it's available again? There already are.
Are the covers coming off the Hamlin no parking signs?
Tomorrow morning.
Good.
Anything else on that?
Thank you, Kathy. Paul,
I am all set.
Marcia, Kristen,
All set.
this is going, Ernie. You good?
I just have
I
a,
wasn't gonna call on tonight. I was gonna adjourn the meeting.
I
Tony,
just
I'm
have
just
a
kidding.
quick thank you to DPW for trimming around the stop sign at the corner of Willow and Oakwood. Because I know we mentioned that last meeting and it's much better. Thank you. That's it.
That's it, great. All right, I'm working on something with the Legion right now to get, we're looking at doing veterans banners, and Matt and I and some representatives from some of the veterans from the Legion. They're trying to figure out how to get banners up there around Veterans Day. They're trying to figure out if they can kind of get the design and get it all ready to go in time for this Veterans Day, or if it's gonna have to wait till next Veterans Day. Maybe you've seen it in some other municipalities around the state, but similar, to the high school senior, flags with pictures and everything. It's kind of a tribute to their service. There'll be more to come on that as we figure that out. I just want to let you know that that's in the works. And just remind everybody that you can get a COVID booster now. If you haven't gotten your first vaccination, I highly recommend it. And you can get a booster too. I understand it's pretty easy to go out and get that as well. COVID's still a real thing. So thank you all for all your efforts, and thank you for showing up tonight. Can I get a motion to adjourn? Moved by Marcia, second.
Second.
Second by Paul. Further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? We are adjourned at 7:54. Thank you for coming, everybody.